So today we're learning a lot of terms. Tomorrow we're going to apply it to math, okay, like with numbers. So to start, we're going to talk about adjacent, which is the first word on your paper. This word you probably or hopefully have heard before. You use it not only in geometry, but you'll hear about it in Algebra 2. Okay, so this word adjacent, you're going to write down two things for it. So adjacent, the first thing, they share a common vertex and side. That's the first thing. They share a common vertex and side. So share a common vertex and side. In real life, like when I ask you my personal definition, they share a wall. And I'm going to explain it using my classroom. So adjacent, in geometry, it means share a vertex and a side when we're talking about adjacent angles. But adjacent in general means share a wall. So I have 4 walls to my room. Each wall is adjacent to a different room. So this wall is adjacent to Miss Dick's room. We both share this exact wall, right? It's wedged between us. This wall, does anybody know what it is adjacent to?
Outside.
Or the outside's that way?
The lunchroom.
It's the lunchroom, yeah. So I'm adjacent to the cafeteria. I'm also adjacent to Miss Belk. I'm also adjacent to the hallway. Am I adjacent to Mr. Hersey? No, we don't have the same wall wedged between us, right? So adjacent in real life, you're going to use it, you're going to hear it. In geometry, you're going to take two highlighters. One highlighter, you'll highlight the top angle. Okay, this is like the middle picture on your notes, I believe. We'll talk about the first one in a minute. So take one highlighter, highlight the first angle, take a second highlighter, and highlight the second angle. Y'all see where they overlap?
Yeah.
You don't see where they overlap?
Oh, yeah.
They overlap. That's what makes them adjacent. So this is what makes them adjacent. That's the wall that they share, right? So they share a wall. So this first set is adjacent. So this second set, do they share a wall? No. Do they share a vertex? They don't share anything, right? So this would be called non-adjacent. So go ahead and write that under this one. Non-adjacent. So when they do not share a wall, when they're not connected, non-adjacent. We've got adjacent, we've got non-adjacent. I'll show you in this example. Hold on. There's your common vertex, there's your common side. I already said that. In this example, each angle is adjacent to 2 other angles. So like this angle, which I'll highlight in purple, it's adjacent to 2 angles. It is adjacent to this angle, right? They both share this wall together. And it's also adjacent to this angle. They share this wall together. Okay, so again, adjacent, they share a wall. Questions, comments, concerns? Perfect. If you wanted to complete it, you could do this the same color. These two, the purple would be adjacent to the blue angles. The blue angles are adjacent to the purple angles, if you wanted to finish out the picture. But adjacent just means they share a wall. All right, in real life, so I'm going to show you pictures from real life. If you're a normal person and you pick up 2 slices of pizza, how would you pick up 2 slices at the same time? You just take them out, right? You would take them out like this. You take out 2 adjacent slices, right? The ones next door. Unless you're super picky and you're like, I like the amount of peppers on that one. But this is what adjacent is. They share this side. Okay, so adjacent. And the next one is complementary. Here's what you're going to put. Complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees. Angles that add up to 90 degrees. Angles that add up to 90 degrees. So tomorrow, if I ask you what complementary is, you must say angles that add up to 90. If you tell me 90 degrees and that's all you say, you are incorrect, because what angles are 90 degrees? Right angles. They're not complementary. Complementary angles are more than one angle, okay? And they add up to 90. Angles that add up to 90 are called complements of each other. Okay, complements. It's different than like a complement. I'm going to go English for a second. This is not the same. Compliment is like saying, Mindora, I like your hair today. That's a compliment. Okay, like I like compliments. You know, when you see something nice about someone else. A complement, which is what we're talking about in geometry, has an E in it. So complements of each other. Give me an easy number between 1 and 90. Give me an easy number.
30.
She said 30. I like that. 30 degrees. Guess what is the complement to 30 degrees? 60. Those are complements of each other. So if I say find the complement, someone said 45 degrees. What is the complement of 45 degrees? 45. So is there a complement to 90 degrees? There is not. It'd be 0. There's no 0 degree angle. Okay, so there's that. Complementary angles can be adjacent or non-adjacent. You have both on your page. So they can be adjacent, which means they share a wall. So go ahead and write these are complementary adjacent angles. They are complementary adjacent. Complementary and adjacent. So if we're being technical, in order to know that these are complementary, which means they add up to 90, what would I need to see in this picture to know that they add up to 90? Okay, either the degrees or the little box. So either the box, or it would have to have the degrees, like this would say 20 and this would say 70. One or the other, that's the only way you can assume that something is a right angle. In geometry, you can't say, well, it looks like a right angle, so it must be a right angle. That is not a thing. It's either got to have the right angle box or the measures to tell me that they are 90 degrees. Okay? So these are complementary and adjacent. They could also be complementary and non-adjacent. Again, in order to know that they're complementary, you would need to know their measures. So you would need to know the degrees. But these are complementary and non-adjacent. You should have both labeled on your paper. Good. So at the bottom it says name an angle complementary. It also might say name a complement. I don't remember which one it says on the quiz. I'm pretty sure it says name a complement. They mean the same thing. Okay. So basically you want to find the number 41 plus a number equals 90. So how do I find out what that number is? Subtract from 90. So 90 minus 41, which makes 49. So that would be, these two would be complements of each other because they add up to 90. So there are complementary angles, and then there are supplementary angles. Supplementary angles, but pause, I forgot. I give you a real life example. So if you look, you've got a clock here, right? So here's an angle, and here is an angle. Okay, so the reason I know they're 90 is because 3 and 12, it's called perpendicular. Anything in real life that has been built, that's a square or a rectangle, is going to be 90 degrees, right? So in real life, you're not going to find a right angle drawn on my board, right? But on a clock, this is a right angle between 12 and 3. Between 3 and 6 is a right angle. Between 6 and 9 is a right angle. Between 9 and 12 is a right angle. This is a good example of how to do your project. Your project, you'd find a picture of the term in real life. What is the only thing this picture is missing? Your face. So in order to make this yours, you can't just find it off the internet. You got to take it yourself. So anyways, there's that. So we have complementary angles, two angles that come together, and they form a right angle. So these are adjacent and complementary. You can have supplementary angles, which are angles that add up to 180. So angles that add up to 180. So angles that add up to 180. And I'll teach you how to remember between the two. When angles add up to 180, the angles are supplements of each other. So pick an easy number between 1 and 180. Sure, 90. So 90 and what other angle would be supplements of each other? 90 and 90. Okay, or 180. Okay, you get it. Supplementary angles can be adjacent or non-adjacent. Here's an example of them being adjacent. So go ahead and write. These are called supplementary. They are supplementary and they are adjacent. I promise we're going to apply this in 2 seconds. They are supplementary and they are adjacent. You can even write under it, because I'm going to talk about it in a minute, that this is actually a linear pair. We're going to talk about it on page 3. But we would call this a linear pair. That part doesn't have to make sense to you yet. But two angles that are supplementary and adjacent, that should make sense. They're adjacent because, they share this wall. But they're supplementary because when you take angle 5, so from here to here, angle 5, and you take angle 6, so from here to here, my arm doesn't bend that way, how many degrees does that make? 180, which makes a straight angle. Okay, so it can look like this, or it could look like this. Again, if they were non-adjacent, I'll let it pop up. If they were non-adjacent, you would need the measurements to know that they were supplementary, to know that they added up to 180. Bottom says, I wouldn't turn the page quite yet. The bottom says name an angle supplementary to 41 degrees. What would I do here? If I want to find an angle that is supplementary. Subtract from 180. Good. So you get 139. Here's why I didn't want you to turn. I'm going to teach you. Nope, want white. There you go. Here's how you can remember the difference between complementary and supplementary. So complementary, you can think of corner. Because remember, complementary, they come together and they form a right angle, right? All of the corners in life are going to be right angles. Okay, so that's how you can remember 90 degrees. Complementary, corner. Supplementary, remember supplementary, what did it look like? A straight angle. So supplementary, straight, that's how you can remember 180 degrees. Or you can remember this, it's dumb, but it is what it is. In the alphabet, C comes first, right? And S is later on in the alphabet. So 90 is the lower number, like when you're counting 90 would come first and then you would eventually get to 180. That makes sense? It's dumb. But whichever one you want to remember. Complementary, 90, supplementary, 180. Okay, I believe I show you an example. You could actually find both supplementary and complementary angles here. You're looking at the bars, right? This is like a fence, like a wrought iron fence. So these would be supplementary. These two angles come together and they form a straight angle. You can look at that. These two angles would also come together and form a straight angle. Y'all see them now? These two, there's so many in this picture. So there's examples of supplementary here, but there's also examples of complementary. Remember that all the corners in life are right angles. So here are two angles that form 90. So these would be called complementary. Okay, so geometry is everywhere, especially in fences. You can now flip. Hopefully you wrote down complementary, the supplementary, the corner straight. But if you did not, in the figure we're going to name pairs of angles. We're going to start with complementary angles. Complementary angles are angles that do what? They add up to 90. They do complement each other. But they add up to 90. So what two numbers add up to 90 in this picture? 37 and 53. So we're going to name these angles. Okay? Can I name? So name an angle, not by the measurement. I was just trying to talk to y'all. I want to name this 37-degree angle. Can I name it angle A? No, why not? It's not the only angle at A. Okay, so I need to use 3 letters. Go ahead and pick one. I heard both of them. CAB, or you could say BAC. Same thing. CAB, BAC. To name the 53-degree angle, what could you do? Yes, so you could say angle S. You could say angle RST. You could say angle TSR. Same thing. All right, supplementary angles. I'm going to write sup. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So what two numbers add up to 180? 127 and 53. So I want to name these two. So again, 127 degrees, I can't name an angle A, so what can I name it? CAD. You could say DAC as well, same thing. And then 53 degrees, we can name angle S again. All right, and then last, adjacent. Adjacent angles have no number relationship at all. They don't add up to anything. They don't equal anything. They just share a wall. So what two angles here share a wall?
BAC and CAD.
Yes. So I was thinking 37 and 127. Yes, these two. We'll name them together. We can name the 37-degree angle first. How do we name the 37-degree angle? BAC. And then name the 127-degree angle, DAC or CAD. From here, we're actually going to turn to page 3. We're going to do like more numbers and math tomorrow. Today we're learning the other two words, and then we're going to use our whiteboards. Vertical angles. I shortened this the best I could while still explaining it. These are very important because you're expected to know these and be able to see these for the rest of the year. So we're going to camp out here for a minute at vertical angles. So you're going to write down, I shortened it as much as I could. They are opposite of each other when two lines cross, and they share the same vertex. They are opposite of each other when two lines cross, and they share the same vertex. So, we're going to talk about this. Pick any angle in this picture. Angle 4. Go ahead and highlight it with one color. Something for you to know about vertical angles. They're called vertical because they only touch at the vertex. So vertical angles only touch at the vertex. So think vert and vert. Vertical angles only touch the vertex. They don't share a wall. They're not next to each other. They only touch the vertex. So what angle in this picture touches angle 4 only at the vertex? 2. So you're going to write that angle 4 and angle 2, those are vertical. I'll give you a second to highlight it too. Angle 4 and angle 2, they are vertical. All right, which means angle 1, if I could highlight it better, angle 1 is going to be vertical with angle 3. Angle 1 and angle 3. So here's what you're looking for vertical angles. You are literally looking for two straight lines that cross. That's all. The angles across from each other, so these two and these two, will be vertical to each other. Here's what you need to understand. On your classwork, you're going to have a much more complicated, you're going to have more lines. To find vertical angles, you have to find two completely straight lines that continue. So do you see how there's a center of these? You need to find two lines that go straight through the center. So like this one and this one. These would be vertical angles. Okay? Does this line go straight through the center? No. So here's what I mean by that. Look at this. It's beautiful. We'll talk about one like this tomorrow. There would be a lot of vertical angles in this picture. This, what I highlighted in red, would be vertical with this. Do you see how the red is on the same straight line, right? There would be another pair. You could see this pair. Okay? Follow the line. It would be over here, across. So vertical angles, I know we're looking at this picture where there's only 4 angles. Okay? But vertical angles are formed by 2 straight lines, and the angles will be perfectly across from each other. Okay? We'll talk about it more complicated. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. But they only touch the vertex, and they're going to be opposite each other. Okay? The other thing you're going to write, so there's like a big blank area, right? Right under vertical. Go off to the side. You're going to write that vertical angles are congruent. Write it as large as you can, and I would highlight it. Vertical angles are congruent. I would highlight it. I'd make it easy to find. Because you'll be expected to know it the rest of the year. Okay, vertical angles are congruent. Before we do, the vertical angles you'll see in real life, you've seen railroad crossings. Look at this perfectly straight piece of metal, straight lines that come together. They form angles. The angles across from each other, can you see the highlighted? This angle and this angle are vertical, okay, and then this angle and the top angle would be vertical as well, okay? The last one is a linear pair. This is the definition, it's as short as it gets. The linear pairs are adjacent and form a straight angle, which is 100 degrees. So linear pairs are adjacent and form a straight angle, which is 180 degrees. So adjacent, and they form 180 degrees. So what does adjacent mean?
They're on the same wall.
They share a wall. Okay, so pick an angle, any angle in this picture. 1. So angle 1, so with 1 highlighter, you'd need 4. If you don't have 4, it's not a big deal. I would just make sure you list them at the bottom. Angle 1 and angle 2 are a linear pair. They share a wall. There's a wall right there. And then angle 1 goes from here to here. Angle 2 from here to here. And together they form a straight angle. Okay, so angle 1 and angle 2 in a different color. Angle 2 is also linear with angle 3. So angle 1 and angle 2, angle 2 and angle 3. Just following the pattern, what else do you think angle 3 is vertical with? Angle 4. And then there's one more. Angle 4 and angle 1. So, a lot of my students just look for, it sounds dumb, they look for like upside down T's. So 2 angles that come together and form a straight angle. They look for something that looks like this. Okay, it kind of looks like a T. The main thing is they are adjacent and they form a straight angle. So on your test, which I just made yesterday, on your test and on your worksheet that we're going to do today, there's going to be a section where I'll give you a picture and you have to tell me how many of these words apply to the picture. Like, are they adjacent? It's not our bell. Are they adjacent? Are they complementary? Are they supplementary? And you'll have to circle all that apply to that picture. Okay, so anytime that it's a linear pair, if you want to write this, I would recommend it because, again, it is on your test. Anytime that it is a linear pair, it has to be also adjacent. So anytime you write that something is a linear pair, they're adjacent, and guess what else they are? They are supplementary. So anytime on a picture, okay, that it's adjacent, that's a linear pair, it also has to be adjacent and supplementary. That's a literal definition of a linear pair. Okay, so linear pairs, adjacent and supplementary. So in this picture, this is a classic, whenever wants to pop up, this is a classic linear pair, angle 5 and angle 6. Okay, so if I asked you circle all that apply, angle 5 and angle 6, they are adjacent. They are supplementary, so that means they add up to 180. They form a straight angle, which means they are also a linear pair. They are all three things. Okay, so that being said, we're just going to review the terms. I'm going to give you the worksheet, and we'll talk about it. Virtual students, this is called 1.6, Describing Pairs of Angles worksheet. I uploaded it to Google Classroom, I think, yesterday. To review, adjacent angles. What did we say adjacent angles do?
They share a wall.
They share a wall. Okay? Michael, what do complementary angles do? You just look like you were sleeping, so I decided to wake you up. They add up to 90. Perfect. Josh, supplementary angles. Add up to 180. What comes next? I think vertical comes next.